Well, hi, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome to almost the tail end of this channel potentially. My name's Kara, and I've been using this channel for a year now for 2020 to document a low-buy project, which is to help me keep a tight budget, which is helping me to pay off my student loans. And in the month of December, I've been just making videos that kind of wrap up a few things that this channel's been about. And today I wanted to look at some of the things that I brought up in videos over the course of the year. And um, first of all, this is not a big channel. So for me, a video with a lot of views is like anything that breaks like 20 views. That's a big deal. I've already talked last week about the topic that actually sort of broke my channel. Like it certainly didn't break the internet, right? But it was the biggest topic, most popular, the way that I eat. So yeah, I eat a carnivore diet, and videos where I talked about that and included it in the title were definitely my most popular videos. So it's definitely a popular search term at the moment. Um, and the rest of my channel has had 58 fantastic subscribers, thank you, and generally a lower watch count, and that's just fine. Um, but in those videos where they had the most views in my little channel's world, there were definitely some things that I talked about and brought up that I feel were sort of incomplete. So I'm doing kind of a wrap up of the channel's past today, and I know that next week I should have had a chance by then. I'll have been paid, and I will have paid my bills. So next week I'll have what I accomplished in December. And then the week after that, the final video of this channel in its present iteration, I'll definitely be looking at the whole year and wrapping up financially what I was able to accomplish and look at my goals for 2021. I am probably going to stop making weekly videos. Yeah, I'm going to probably stop making weekly videos, but I think I will check in monthly and just keep sharing where my financial journey's at, because that's what the channel started for, and it's definitely what I have enjoyed. I've actually personally enjoyed talking about that and watching my progress in that regard the most. So that's what's valuable to me, and that's what I'll keep talking about, but less frequently after 2020 is over. So yeah, I went and just kind of looked back at the monthly topics that I had picked, and um, there were things that I thought were really interesting. Like in April, I did a series of what I ended up calling resource reviews, where I shared different tools and like blogs and organizations that have helped me understand my finances a little better and to take action in a meaningful way. And a few of those were like I took a class online from it was called FI 101, and it comes from, I can't even remember the name of the actual organization. It might just be called Financial Independence. Um, but yeah, like I took a class that helped outline a lot of really cool um, ways to approach your financial life. And I think I also took a class that had nothing to do with finances. It was actually about soil and land management, but then it had a financial component in it that I found really inspiring, and that was through the Savory Institute, which I've spoken of a couple of times. So I really enjoyed in April doing that resource review and sharing those classes and things that you could sign up for, you could go after. They're really cool. Um, but they were not highly viewed videos. So as far as giving the people what they want, I don't know if this channel really will satisfy. Uh, yeah, because obviously I'm not going to turn it into a carnivore channel, even though that would be apparently what the people want. Um, then I think it was at the end of, I'm looking down at a list. You know me, there's always a list somewhere. At the end of May, I had a video called Pandemic Plan, and it wasn't watched a whole lot, but to me, it was such a good video because it was a moment to take stock of all the craziness that was going on and how the CARES Act had been passed and there was no interest on student loans, and most Americans received a $1,200 check. And I had, because my employment is at a small business, and they had received some of the PPP loan money to protect, what was it called, the Paycheck Protection something. Anyway, my place of employment had gotten some of those funds, and it meant they gave everybody hazard pay, which I don't think we would have been able to really pull off at that moment without that support. So I had a little bump in my pay, and I just kind of worked through in that video what these changes and new resources meant for me. And I got done filming, but I didn't get done thinking about it. And I actually went back, and it's the tail end of that video that's my favorite, because I let my brain stew on it, and I was doing kind of the scratching on the back of a napkin kind of math, and figuring out even in more detail, what do those resources and changes mean for me. And that was when I set, and it was May, it was a couple of months into the period of time where there's zero interest on student loans. That was the moment when I set the $10,000 challenge for myself, where we initially thought there would be no interest on loans for 6 months. And I realized a couple months in, it's possible I might be able to pay off $10,000. And so it was a fun moment to do that math, to realize that, to set sort of a goal within the goal of my year, what might be possible to accomplish. So that is a favorite video for me, and it's neither here nor there if you go back and watch that. But I know that it was the end of May, and that was a turning point in the low buy year for me, where I found that setting some more tangible goals for myself than just trying to use 75% of my income to pay off debt, it was helpful to have something more that was tangible and a little more set to a scale and a time frame that really helped me to focus and actually make that goal. And I did. By the end of September, I had paid off, from my own income, I had paid off $10,400. And then I had also sold a second vehicle of mine and throw that on the debt as well. So in that window of time, which ended up extended, but in that window of time that I could hope for, 6 months with no interest, I did make my goal. And then I also kind of threw some extra on by selling that vehicle that I didn't use. And it's crazy to say this, but I haven't missed that vehicle. I am glad that I did that. In the meantime, in the midst of those 6 months, I can't remember when it was, but the zero interest got extended to the end of the year. And so we're still in this amazing reprieve of no interest. And I figured, well, there's 3 more months. How about 5,000? And I'm a little nervous about that one, because the hazard pay at my work sunsetted out in October, which that lasted much longer than I had thought that it would. It lasted so much longer than I thought it would, and it was very helpful to have a couple bucks more per hour for several months. But the hazard pay had dropped off, and I was back at my base wage. My $1,200 that I had been using to supplement my rent, this is the last month where I had that little supplement. But there's still zero interest. So taking all that into account, I had set the slightly more ambitious goal, with less resource available, trying to hit 5,000 in 3 more months. And I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to make it. And I did a couple of interesting sort of rearranges financially this month that I will tell you about next week when we look at December numbers. But I made it. Made it by the skin of my teeth. I made it. And I'm really looking forward to what's possible with a huge amount of the principal on my largest loan gone now. I was able to it was like pulling a big plug out of a bathtub, like just drain that debt. And so encouraging. So encouraging. And of course now it isn't my biggest loan. It's tiny. It feels like something I can just I'm going to take care of real quick, even though the interest will be coming back, I guess, in January. Um, so yeah, that midpoint was a favorite video of mine to look back at and remember where I was and what that felt like, to see this light at the end of the tunnel and a cool goal to shoot for, and just working out the math and knowing that it's possible is often what it takes for me to significantly shift my behavior and know, like, it is possible. I have to follow through and I have to do the plan that I set, but it is possible. I like that. I like kind of planning things out and really tackling them step by step. Another favorite thing along the way, well, this isn't a favorite, but I found that the events of 2020, particularly in the summer when there was the death of George Floyd and the community response to that in Minneapolis and then around the country and then even around the world, I found myself kind of just overwhelmed in June, and I didn't really know what to say. And there was a week where I just kind of said nothing, and it was like a minute long video of me saying I don't know what to say. And then I did some deeper thinking and tried to express it. And I watched my video to remember where I was at that time and what I had said. And I think I still agree with what I said. And I had talked about having great sympathy for, I had great sympathy for the concept of the movement that got called Defund the Police. But I hate what they called themselves. And I don't think it helped them at all. Because what they meant by defund was reallocate resources and shift priorities in our communities and see if that has an effect on the need for police to respond to a variety of different kinds of things that the defunding that we've already accomplished in mental health help, in education, in supporting for families and childcare and all those kinds of things. We've done a great job of defunding those, and now there's nothing left but police when there are problems that some of those kinds of programs might have mitigated in the past. So I get the movement, and I had sympathy for it as a reallocation. But I guess I am cautious about trusting human nature completely. I don't think that we are, I don't think that humans are just innocent and good at our nature. I think that we're probably neutral. We're probably neutral, and we're very, very prone to selfishness. And sometimes that's just small and basic and happens in life, and you learn to try to control yourself a little. But there are some people who don't learn that, and they don't learn to control themselves, and that selfishness becomes far bigger problems. And we are going to need police. We are going to need police. And I think the events that have unfolded around the country since June really show, yeah, policing is probably a flawed institution, but not having police won't work either. There's been surges in all kinds of crime in certain cities where the police were defunded or suddenly called back from responding to the problems in society. So while I understand reallocating, and a certain amount of that is probably a good idea, and investigating why is policing such a broken institution right now, and over militarized. I mean, I'm not sure we need tanks rolling down the streets of suburbs. There's plenty to investigate, and probably reallocating would do a lot of good. But to act like we won't need police is so foolish and so short-sighted. And I agree with the people who point out that the people who are hurt the most when there are no police are the people who are already most vulnerable. People who live in poorer neighborhoods and people who have very little. If we were to not have police there, desperate people desperate people give into that selfishness much easier. So you might need money to pay a bill. Well, if you find out that there's something in your neighbor's apartment that you could sell and be able to pay your bill, you might turn to thieving. And that's a terrible situation that people are desperate. And then there are some who decide to take advantage, to just decide to take advantage. Like, we need police. We need police because not everybody is able to control their selfishness, and not everybody chooses the best way to deal with dire straits. And people who are innocent in those situations need to be protected. And, I would like to think that we would turn around and also make sure that where the innocent homeowner needs protection from a burglar, but then goes to work at a big bank, the small business person who needs a loan really needs protection from them. So we need laws and we need enforcement, because all of us are prone to seeking our own advantage, and we need a system around us that holds that in check. And I find that to be an unfortunate truth about humanity. So, just kind of an extra thought onto that little video that I had, what did I call it? I think it was called Thoughts of the Moment, and it was in late June or maybe mid-June. Yeah, so Thoughts of the Moment updated just ever so slightly. And another video that was fairly popular, there were two that I did in September. I thought that I would tell more stories, but the way that the Mondays fell, there just weren't even that many videos that I made. In Stories September, I shared about my work history, and then I also shared a video that I called Politics-ish. And I shared how my politics have changed over the years, but this might be my personal favorite segment of the whole year of filming. And it isn't even where I started talking about an issue. And the only issue that I brought up explicitly was student loans, because I feel like I can talk about that fairly. I feel like I have the ability and the position where it's safe to make some comments about student loans. However, before I even started talking about any topic in particular, there's a few minutes. It's like from 1:45 to 10:20, but I didn't go check. No, I did. From a minute or so into that video, as I got ready to talk about politics, I really enjoy, and I would still stand by this, it's so difficult to talk about important issues in my life because, and you find me here on this video often pausing or speaking in generalities instead of anything terribly specific, and that remains the case. And I remember making this video and expressing why, and it's because I've lived in so many different places and had so many different really valuable communities in my life. But as I have moved, and sometimes I've moved my own position, so it's an internal moving, and then when I have physically moved and I no longer get to have really good connection and intimate private conversations with people who are important to me, the last time I got to have a good conversation with so many of my friends, I know what they thought and they know what I thought, but I've changed and they may have changed. But now our relationships are on social media and they're out in public and other people get to comment. And I can see that some of them have changed a little and some have maybe not changed at all, but they don't know how I have changed. And so the public and totally insufficient nature of having our relationships now mediated on social media, without the time and the privacy to really talk and understand where each other have been and what has changed us in our opinions and in our lifestyles. I lament that. And because I don't know why I choose to be pretty quiet about my opinions on social media. where I can tell you some of my friends have not chosen to be quiet. Um, I don't know why I choose to be quiet, and I guess I wait for and I hope the day comes where we can talk personally. But without that opportunity, I don't like putting myself out there on social media. Um, so there's some, it's a favorite part of my channel that I described that phenomenon. And now reflecting on it, like, I guess I wouldn't change a thing. Uh, and it was a relatively popular video on my huge channel with all 58 of you wonderful subscribers. So thanks for that. Um, so yeah, and now we're here at the end of the year doing a wrap up, and I'm most excited. I'm most excited to do the December financials video, and then the video of like looking ahead to 2021 and making some goals and sharing those. Um, but it's been really cool to do YouTube for a year, and oh, I don't know. I guess maybe this is kind of wrapping up and tying like a pretty shoddy bow, or maybe just a knot. But we're almost at the end of the year, and thanks for watching so far. And this is just kind of a wrap up, somewhat of an update to previous things. Um, and yeah, keeping the promise to make a video every week. Thanks a lot. See you next week.